We're going live. All right. Welcome to week 31 of What Did Prince Do This Week? And in the background,
I can barely hear it.
Can you? What about it's just a pad. How's that?
A little bit. It sounds like it's playing in your speakers as opposed to playing to us.
Still not good?
We get you. There's more with it.
It's really loud on my end. I can barely hear you guys. So, okay. It's all right if it's low. This is actually through StreamYard, and I've done it before, but I don't know. All right. So let's get this party started. I'll try not to scream because the music's super loud for me.
Oh, you sound perfect to us. The music just sounds like it's playing in your room.
Oh, okay.
It's a nice little vibe.
All right. Okay. So week 31 of What Did Prince Do This Week? A very slow read of Duane Tudah's Prince Studio Sessions book series through an interactive weekly online book club and Saturday salon, echoing the spirit of the Harlem Renaissance. And if you haven't noticed, we have a very special guest in the house with us today. None other but Zach Hoskins.
Thanks for having me.
How are you this day?
I'm great. Yeah, I'm kind of, I guess I'm the Apollonia 6 guy. That's my brand now. So. and I'm happy to embrace it.
Yes.
The Apollonia 6 guy. That's not a bad. It's unique.
Somebody's got to be it, right? Somebody's got to take that role.
Somebody. Yeah. So we're always excited to have you here because it's not many people that we can just rock out and talk about Apollonia 6 with. So, yeah, you are that guy, Zach. All right. So, we're going week to week, not day to day. You can follow a detailed schedule at our bit.ly link and our QR code. You do not need to expand the edition to participate, but the schedule is based on it. These will be archived at Polished Solid as well as at MDean. Please subscribe, like, and help spread the word. Our hashtag is WDPDTW. And this is an independent endeavor. We are not affiliated with the state of Prince Rogers Nelson Associated or connected. And we're currently listening to sort of Quick to Dismiss by Eric Leeds and Paul Peterson. No Words from their 2017 release. These are all the players. And C-Lee's here, but C-Lee's going to join us to talk about something super special that happened last Saturday that I didn't know nothing about. And I was super excited that there is a God. Prince is finally in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. It took 50 years because he should have been back. He should have been in this, but late is better than never.
Yeah.
All right. So while we have that up, we got to talk to our people in the chat room. I'm so excited that Rick at Upright is excited about being first so much to put it twice in the chat. That's what I'm talking about. And we got Nick Felden from Denver. We got Anna B in the Purple House. We got
Anna
Stone
B.
Freak.
That's the name. Anna B.
Anna B. That's right.
Anna B, girl.
And we love Steve because Steve be hanging out with us and we got Stone Freak from the ATL. Yeah, I love this. We're in the Purple Palace. That's right. And we got Lisa Williams from H-Town. We got Cassandra Bradley, also an AT-alien. So glad Prince made it to Songwriters Hall of Fame. Are you gymming? Cassandra, are you in the gym? And we got H. Williams from the UK. Welcome, H. Williams. I don't know if you've joined us live before. If this is your first time, welcome. And if it's not, we appreciate you coming back. Thank you so much, Christine, for always being here from Minneapolis. And we have Man Ray 10. Let's see. Oh, no. I thought my audio was wrong, but nope, it's set to what it's supposed to be set. Okay, so happy Purple August to all the Purple Peeps, Man Ray 10. And hold on one second. It wants to play again. Oh, I see why, because it has like a... All right, so we're going to stop that because I sound really loud to myself with the music on. We got Peace, wow, fam. We got Deja. Good morning. We got Arlene. Hello. Oh, yes, happy August. We are in August. I can't believe it. Already. That's right.
I'm still back in March.
Actually, I'm still back in April because I still haven't recovered from the Erotic City Symposium, and we're about to have another symposium next week. So I'm tired. That's what I am.
Now, I was about that little accent you threw on. I was about to go somewhere, but we're gonna keep the show rolling because it derailed everything.
Yeah, we ought to schedule this week. Yes, we have the amazing Lee in the house. So
good morning. Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you, and if it's
Morning,
okay,
Pastor
yes.
Seeley.
If we can do our, our muting on when you're not talking, there you go. All right, because we're ready for you, Seeley. Are you ready to rock? Okay. All right. So then we have Drea Dances in the house. We have Vince Rowland from Brighton. Very nice. Awesome. Welcome. And we got Blade Brown, my literature brother. We got Laura from Romania. Wow. Happy Saturday evening.
Wow. Romania?
Yeah.
I've never been there. Never been there virtually, I don't think, but this is dope.
Yeah, very dope. And then we got Chris Bourdain.
All I know about Romania are the Romanian judges doing gymnastics. 10! That's what I know. So, happy 10 to the Romanian judges from Romania. There you go. All right, back to the show.
Oh my God. And we have Purple Cat Confetti, and we got Mooches 26. We got Marilyn from Virginia. We got Ronald from Maryland. And I love this. Yes, we can't forget about Hot Summer. Yes, exactly. And for those of you who don't know about Hot Summer, you haven't been listening to your Welcome to America. And then we have Audra Apollonia 6th Day. That's right. And yes, Audra knows what's up. And then, yes, better late than never when it comes to the Songwriters Hall of Fame. And congratulations to Prince on a long overdue induction into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. We have El Michelle. And then, yes, Prince knew he was inducted back in 2013. I am so happy that he did not leave this earth without knowing that he made it to the Songwriters Hall of Fame, because Seeley's going to talk about it. And then we got Ricky. Happy 30th Funk Jazz Cafe. That's absolutely right. Because that's going down tonight. We cutting. That's what we're talking about. We got Kale Heads in the house. Peace and blessings. We got Love Sexy 71. Come on, me and Michael Dean. Love Sexy.
Add a little extra. And an extra little live in Detroit.
That's right. Speaking of Detroit, I don't see Andre in here. Maybe he's later in the chat and I don't see him yet. We got Seville. We got Tracy. Good morning. We got, let's see, Black Buster's review of Purple Rain. I don't know about Black Buster's review. You know about this?
Yes, I do. I saw that. Shout out to Big Jai to the max.
Also, that interview with Sonata. If you have not seen it, you need to see all of it, but you definitely need to see the last 30 minutes. My man dropped so much fire about the industry, about Michael Jackson, about Prince, about the evil empire and your soul and your spirituality. Let me be clear. The entire interview is probably one of the best interviews I've seen in a while. But those last 30 minutes about when he starts specifically talking about his battles with Sony and Tony Mottola and those particular things, we need to see that. So I'll shut up. But please, yes, see that interview. That's it.
Now, is it on video? Because when I was about to, it's on video.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'll add it to the accompanying playlist, and I still need to check it out. And I want to make sure that we say hello to Alice from Australia. Thank you so much for joining us.
Alice?
And we got, yes.
Alice is in my Discord. So what's up, Alice? I see you.
Awesome. And we got Sakia here with us almost every weekend.
That's my Mississippi homegirl. Shout out to Mississippi.
Shout out to Mississippi. That's right. All right. So C. Lee is here right on time. And for those of you who don't know, Prince was finally inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame last Saturday. We are so ecstatic that this has finally happened. And I love that C. Lee did due diligence and made sure it was real. It's on the Songwriters Hall of Fame website because for a while it wasn't. So it is definitely legit and official. So I wanted C. Lee to come on and read what he wrote about Songwriters Hall of Fame. So if you don't mind, C. Lee, take us away with what you wrote about how important it is for Prince to be in the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
Oop.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I am not a big awards person, but I'll admit that it always rubbed me the wrong way that a songwriter as prolific as Prince wasn't in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. As someone who wrote a big-ass book about Prince's lyrics, y'all can see why this didn't make sense to me. In 2004, it seemed apropos when Prince became a unanimous first ballot Rock and Roll Hall of Famer during his first year of eligibility. There was nothing about which to think. Prince had proven why he belonged in the pantheon of great artists. But when I learned that he had been eligible for the Songwriters Hall of Fame since 1998 and had not been inducted, that didn't seem plausible. However, it was announced last Saturday that Prince has finally been inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. I first saw it announced on Night Child Reviews and then found it on a couple of other places. It's also been revealed that Prince was initially supposed to be inducted in 2013, which makes more sense, even if that's still too late. But per the rules of the Songwriters Hall of Fame, a living recipient must attend the award ceremony, and Prince's schedule didn't allow him to attend that year. Then he was due to be awarded in 2016, but as we all know, he made his transition before the ceremony. The good thing is that he knew he was to be inducted, and this was one of the few awards that he desired. As his sister Sharon Nelson said when accepting the award in his honor, quote, "I know that he always wanted the Writers Hall of Fame award. I'm just happy for him. He has so much music that we haven't heard yet. Do you know how many days I saw Prince walking around with that yellow pad? How many songs was he writing on that yellow pad?" End quote. Adding to this affirmation, Prince's longest tenured band member, Morris Hayes, aka Mr. Hayes, stated, quote, "I asked him one time because he could do so many things great. You know, man, what do you consider to be the thing that you're best at?" He kind of thought about it and he said, "You know, Morris, at the end of the day, I'm a songwriter. I'm a poet. Nobody reads anymore. For me, the biggest thing is my lyrics." And I said, this is Morris again, "You know what, man? I completely agree. You can pick any era. You may not like the keyboard sound. You may not like the drum sound or whatever. But if you strip all that away from the music, you have his lyrics. He was always clever in how he wrote because he read all the time." End quote. Even in my book, I quote Prince being concerned that the reviewers weren't mentioning the lyrics of Graffiti Bridge. Quote, "No one's mentioning the lyrics. Maybe I should have put a lyric sheet in." End quote. As a songwriter, Prince was a poet, a storyteller, and a philosopher whose writings cover every aspect of humanity. As I've often said, Prince understood that humans are merely pie charts with multiple slices, and he wrote songs that engaged every slice of what it meant to be human, individually, socially, culturally, and politically. There's not one aspect of life that Prince didn't engage as a songwriter. And like Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Bob Marley, Smokey Robinson, Maurice White, and others before him, he seamlessly moved between topics, connecting the dots to a holistic understanding of humanity. Whether it was Sign of the Times, Party Up, Sexuality, Ronnie Talk to Russia, Anti-Christian, Adore, Controversy, The Cross, Bambi, Baby, When Doves Cry, Temptation, Mountains, the entire Love Sexy album, Electric Chair, Still Will Stand All Time, Thunder, Walk Don't Walk, Money Don't Matter Tonight, The Sacrifice of Victor, The Exodus Has Begun, We March, Same December, Right the Wrong, Dig You Better Dead, The Love We Make, the entire Rainbow Children album, Colonized Mind, Musicology, Baltimore, Black Muse, and so many more. Few wrote as well and in so many genres addressing so many topics. And this list doesn't include the thousands of songs that he wrote for others, such as The Time, Sheila E., The Family, Vanity 6, Apollonia 6, Patti LaBelle, Howard Hewitt, Sheena Easton, Tevin Campbell, Mavis Staples, George Clinton, Miles Davis, The Bangles, and others, and thousands of people who covered Prince's songs, such as Shaka Khan, Sinead O'Connor, Alicia Keys, TLC, Patti Smith, The Foo Fighters, Billy Cobham, D'Angelo, Cyndi Lauper, The Pointer Sisters, Stephanie Mills, and more. This eclectic list of artists inspired by Prince is mind-blowing. Yet, he was blowing our minds from day one. Prince's first album, For You, has a song on it about a young couple facing an unexpected pregnancy and finding a way to deal with it. Who the hell does that in popular music, especially in 1978? Yet, this was simply Prince announcing that he was different, creative, and unafraid to go where others feared to thread. On a personal note, my book, The Lyrics of Prince, a literary look at a creative musical poet and philosopher, which was published in 1997, was supposed to be my master's thesis. But even after I submitted to my committee an abstract, a 100-page draft, and an annotated bibliography with over 100 sources, my committee still rejected my topic and forced me to write on something else. So I simply held my manuscript until I graduated and started working on it myself. While I was validated by people finding my book informative, teaching it in over 10 different universities, and by Prince asking me to help him write a book, Mr. Hayes' aforementioned quote is the final piece that affirmed what I knew all along. Prince saw himself as a poet. Prince saw himself as a storyteller. That's what all I needed to hear. It's amazing how we need to hear things even though we already know them. While Prince's induction to the Songwriters Hall of Fame is long overdue, it's much deserved. And yet I'll restate what Nightchild stated on his YouTube platform. Prince's greatest liability was that he was great in too many things. If he was great at only one thing, it would have allowed more people to focus on that because it would have made him easier to understand, easier to label, and easier to put into a box. But because he was a great guitar player, a great bass player, a great piano player, a great drummer, a great singer, and a great songwriter, it was difficult to confine him. In the words of Prince scholar and NYU professor D'Angelo Duff, Prince don't need nobody, end quote. And he did it so well in so many genres: funk, rock, soul, blues, jazz, etc. When one is that good at that many things, people often take it for granted or miss it because it's too much to fathom. Yet Prince's career is a testament that not putting limitations on yourself can inspire others to challenge what's possible. He refused to allow others to define him by becoming his own creation, which helped to reshape how folks today understand what it means to be creative. Although remaining firmly planted in his North Minneapolis Black community, Prince became a musical movement whose tentacles continue to be buried deep into modern music in ways that most still don't comprehend. But like all things Prince, it will take most folks longer to realize, comprehend, and enjoy today what Prince was doing yesterday. Peace and be wild, and always wave your wild side high. That's it.
Woo!
Woo! That was amazing. I was thinking the same thing, Michael. I was like, okay, we're at the end of what to pursue this week. That's all we need. Thank you so much, Celie, for coming on and reading that. Because when I read that, I was like, more people need to read and hear it. And I love hearing people read their own words. So I really, really appreciate it because you really cover a lot of ground in everything that you said. So we're just so thankful that you're able to join us and appreciate it every single time that you come on.
Thank y'all.
Yes, and we got from Arlene, didn't realize C. Lee's book had been proposed as a thesis topic. What a shame it wasn't accepted as such. It's a brilliant topic and fascinating book. Yes, C. Lee is always on fire.
Yeah, I like the part when you were saying, you know, he was great in so many different things, you know. And I was gonna say, the other thing too is when you have somebody that is good at all that and they look good, you know what I'm saying? Like his persona was so like, you know, cool and fly and always top tier. Yeah, all of that could be probably intimidating. They don't even want to deal with that. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Zach, do you have anything to say about Prince being inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame?
Oh yeah. I mean, I can't follow C. Lee, but but yeah, I mean, this was always, I'm the same way. I don't care about Grammys. I don't care about so many of these awards. It feels very meaningless. But to me, it did always rankle that Prince wasn't being given these accolades as a songwriter. I think I mean, for those, probably most of you know what I do, but I write a song by song blog, and that's how much I believe in in Prince as a songwriter, that I was like, I'm going to write about every song, you know, until I die, because at the pace I'm going, I'm probably not going to get through all of them, but I'm going to keep going, you know, because the songs are that great. They're that incredible. I think he's, you know, people. I saw Ricky in the chat. He should have a book of his lyrics. Absolutely. I remember I had a book of Lou Reed's lyrics. Paul McCartney's lyrics came out a couple of years ago. I think Prince is, at minimum, a peer of those two. And in many ways, you know, I think when we're talking about Paul McCartney's worst lyrics, Prince's worst lyrics are way above. You know, he's I think a greater artist than a lot of these artists that have gotten this kind of recognition. So this is, you know, awards are awards, and Prince claimed not to care about awards, but I think he cared about his legacy, and this does feel like a missing piece of the legacy. And I hope that more people take notice, because I think he's still, it seems crazy to say that he's underrated, but he is. He's so underrated.
Can I add one thing to that? What you know, all of you guys are saying. Oh, and I'm kind of the same way. I'm probably the ultimate, I don't care about none of them awards type thing. But I think I kind of have that opinion sometimes, because growing up listening to Prince, it always felt like he never got acknowledged like I thought he should have back in the days anyway. And so I was just like, you know what?
Yeah.
Don't even care then, because they're not going to, you know, it was like when the Grammys, you know, was that famous one. I think he was going to win possibly for Sign of the Times, and it went to
U2. Yeah. I love the gif of him when they announced U2.
Exactly.
Is one of my favorite moments.
Yeah. And I remember that happening that night, and I was like, yeah, of course they're not going to give it to Prince. And almost, you know, not to drag Mike into it, but the same way, like as much as he had gotten the praise, and then it kind of like, nah, they're not going to give him all those awards again. And it felt like Prince never got all of the acolytes. What am I trying to say? He never got the acknowledgement that I felt like he should have over the years. I know they got the Hollywood thing coming, Star, and just all these other things, but it always felt like he was an outsider to all of that. And I think I got the mindset in my mind, like, yeah, who cares what they think? We know he's dope. Like, we know he would be on the top of all of these, you know, he's a great guitarist. We'd be like, yeah, but we knew that 30 years ago.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of the mindset. But I love that, yes, he is getting acknowledged. And I hope it makes people sort of think like, yo, let me check out this guy's work, you know, for people who follow that. So that's all I got to say.
That's right. But I mean, I'm so happy that they finally acknowledged them, because I was like, I don't understand what is going on. Like, what took them so long? So I'm just really thrilled to know that he actually knew before he passed. I think that was really important, because I would think that this award would be important to him. Obviously, I don't know what Prince thinks, but I know that he wanted to be known, you know, as a songwriter and as a poet. So I would assume that it would have. All right.
Can I just throw a quick question?
Sure.
You know, why do you think it took so long?
Basically, for the reason that C. Lee stated, because like when I watch a lot of other podcasts, there are a lot of like YouTube series that talk about the best bass players or the best guitarists. They almost always lead with Prince can't be the best because he played so many different instruments. So that made him lesser just because he was a multi-instrumentalist. And that makes absolutely no sense to me, because if you actually listen to Prince play, you wouldn't know. Especially when it comes, well, to be honest, when it comes to everything, because he was constantly recording. So he was constantly he probably practiced more than anybody in terms of his contemporaries, because not only was he recording almost all day, that's the reason why we're talking about, what did Prince do this week? But he was either doing live performances, and then with the live performances, you got the sound checks, and then you got the after shows, then you got the rehearsals. So he was constantly playing. He never lost his chops. In fact, they kept improving over time, which is amazing to think about. So I never understood that argument. And it's just like they always try to find something to knock him down. You know what I mean? So I think because he does so many different things, like Celie pointed out, that everything about Prince gets really overlooked to the level that it should be. And I think the songwriter is actually at the bottom of what's been overlooked.
Yeah.
And I would also add, one of the things that we have to not do, I remember we all had the outrage from the Rolling Stone founder and editor who didn't have any Black people in his book, because he said that Black artists don't articulate themselves well, and that's why he didn't put their interviews in there. We got to stop acting like he was the only one who felt that way. We got to stop acting like that wasn't always a sense of prejudice and bias in a lot of white songwriters, which is why we needed the Dr. Carol Coopers and the Mark Allen Neals and the Nelson Georges and Greg Tates and all these great people. And I think that ultimately Black songwriters, that's why I made sure to mention a lot of Black songwriters in that article. They just right. and what we have to do is, and I'm glad that I don't see Black people falling for the trap, because we give Paul McCartney and John Lennon their props, right? We give all the great white songwriters their props. And I want to be careful of that, because I don't want us to start knocking white songwriters just because we know they knock our songwriters. But I think at the end of the day, Black songwriters still just don't get the credit. The Smokey Robinsons, right, don't get the credit. Yeah. And I think what happens is that people in America are still so enamored with the Black body that that there's a fetishizing of the Black body. And because we fetishize the Black body, they can't see the Black intellect, right? So what they see in Black artists, and this is not just, when I say artists, I mean athletes, I mean entertainers, I mean movie stars. When they see the Black body, what they see is a physical specimen. They see us as the idiot savant. And and then along with that, I end on this, because I heard somebody, and this is Sonata hit this too in the interview. He said that white rock critics, they feel like they want to be a person to be the interpreter for Black musicians. They don't want Black artists to be able to articulate themselves. They want to be able to come tell you what the Black artist is saying. They want to be able to kind of be the gatekeeper. So when you have somebody as articulate as Prince, somebody as articulate as Sonata, somebody as articulate as Smokey Robinson, those kind of people, they not only destroy the stereotype, but they also take some of the power that the white rock critic has always had. And so I think that a little bit of that is also into that. I'll shut up.
Thank you.
What you're saying, Celie, that connects to what Michael you said earlier about Prince's like sex symbol status. I mean, what Celie's saying goes even deeper, deeper than that. But I mean, you see that play out in a very literal way with Prince. It's like he's too pretty to be a genius. He's too good a dancer to be a genius. So much of it is like the fashion and the iconography and the thing is though, I wouldn't want it any other way. Like I love all that stuff. When I'm looking at his teeny tiny outfits in Paisley Park, I'm in heaven, but it's like you have to somehow be able to see both of those things. And I think that our society does not afford that level of multidimensionality to Black people. We can see Bob Dylan as both iconic and a genius. And for some reason, we can't do that with Prince. Well, we can, but
yeah.
Duff, can you highlight Sister Zakia's comment? Because that's important. If you guys haven't seen that movie, and I don't want to butcher the brother's name, Chevrolet. If you haven't seen the movie, I want you to see the movie, even though the movie opens with a lie. The movie opens with a lie because it opens with a duel between Chevrolet and Mozart. That's a lie because when Mozart came to town, Chevrolet was already a star. In fact, during that time, they used to call the Mozart the white him. It was just over time, they started calling him the Black Mozart. But the movie is still important enough that I want you to see that movie. But Sister Zakia is actually right. They have been doing that. You see how long they've been doing that. That this dude, Mozart, was the white him. And now, 200 years later, he goes down in history as the Black Mozart because they just don't want to give a Black man that kind of credit. I shall.
All of that, what y'all say, is the same way is how I see Eminem. And I'm going to leave it at that.
All right. So let's get into what did Prince do this week. We got a lot of cover in a little bit of time. And we are in August already, as we talked about earlier, but we want to do a really quick overview of what did Prince do in July of 1984. There were basically 5 studio days, 3 songs. The 3 songs were 2 family songs, Nothing Compares to You and Feline, as well as, I think, an instant classic, America. I still can't believe that America was really written in 1984 because I so think of it in terms of 1985 and all of that. But it was written in 84. And obviously we had something called Purple Rain, the movie, which was released in July, on July 27th. And there was the movie premiere and there was other stuff that happened in July, but it was a light month in terms of like songs, just because there was something called the movie that was happening. So it's a lot going on. All right. So let's see. What did Prince do this week? Week 31. This is episode number 82. We got 1 new song and we got 2 studio visits. This is what we're going to be talking about this week. We have a safety copy of Sex Shooter, as well as basic tracking and Prince vocals for Happy Birthday, Mr. Christian. And we also have Apple's vocals that Friday for Happy Birthday, Mr. Christian. And before I forget, I want to make sure that I tell Zach that I really would love to have a blog entry on Happy Birthday, Mr. Christian, because I was like, where is it? But then I know you're going in order. And I was like, oh, it hasn't been written yet. So that's the reason why it's not there.
I'm trying. These weeks like this are great because like there's some weeks where Prince recorded like 4 songs. But when he just records 1 song, it gives me hope that I can eventually catch up. I just have to get back into it. But when Doves Cry, that stymied me. So I feel like I'm past that and now I can get back.
Yes, indeed. All right. So let's get into, actually, before we get to Sex Shooter, Duane writes a little bit about August 1984. I'm going to read it with the quickness. So here we go. Once it was clear And let me go here. So we're not just looking at that. And we're at page 372. Actually, it's not 372. Yeah, it's 372, I think, somewhere around there, because I have my Kindle edition this week. So, okay, once it was clear that Purple Rain, both the movie and the soundtrack, were launching Prince into the stratosphere, decisions had to be made about the upcoming schedule. Because Morris Day had broken off ties with Prince, The Time, or even Day as a solo artist would not be performing on the tour. So the original concept of having the three bands from the movie touring together was scrapped. So it would have been another triple threat if probably Morris had stayed in the camp. Prince dropped Apollonia 6 from the bill as well, despite the energy they had spent preparing for the tour. In September, Apollonia 6 would do a brief series of television performances outside the country to promote their album, but the trio would never participate in a full tour. They popped up here and there, as we know. One possible reason was that Prince wanted to move beyond some of the elements of Purple Rain, but an even more likely explanation can be found in the performer who he invited to open the tour for him. And we know that to be Sheila E. The family album wasn't finished and the band wasn't ready for a live show, let alone a major tour. And an album for Maserati was only in the planning stages. So Sheila E. was invited to open for Prince on what would be one of the biggest tours of the year. She had played at the premiere of the movie in July, and her album was doing well, remaining on the Billboard 200 album chart for 46 weeks, starting July 7th, 1984, and the Billboard Soul LP chart for 42 weeks, starting June 30th, 1984. The publicity from touring with Prince could help increase the sales of her music. So to get ready, Sheila would venture out in September and October to do some promotion for her album and road test her new band to prepare them for the upcoming Purple Rain tour. So I think it's pretty amazing that Sheila's album remained The Glamorous Life. For those of you who don't know, 46 weeks on the 200, the top 200. I think that's really impressive for a debut solo record, particularly during that time period. So
just to add, I mean, if you think about it, this is your debut, your new album, and you're about to open the biggest tour possibly in the country or in the world at this point for one of the biggest artists ever. Like, how often does that happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy when you think, and the fact that he's had all these other incredible people on the side that could probably fill that role. It just speaks to how dope of a musician, how accomplished Sheila E. is for Prince to say, no, for my biggest tour, I'm gonna have you open. You know, I'm confident that you rock. And then she killed it. Like, you know, I guess I'd imagine he rehearsed the hell out of them. Like, she did her thing, man. And I think if she hadn't done that tour, I don't even know she would be even talking about her in the same light today.
I think that's a good point. But I think, Michael, my personal opinion, I think Sheila probably rehearsed the heck out of her band, you know, because Sheila is a force to be reckoned with. And I saw the tour, and my favorite thing about the tour was Sheila's. And more specifically, I've said it a gazillion times, I'll say it a gazillion more, were those laser drumsticks.
Yeah.
Amazing. Seeing that first, like as a 13-year-old, it was mind-blowing when those like glowing drumsticks came out. So nothing could top that for me. It was really, really extraordinary. Yes.
In her outfit. Lord.
Well, yeah.
My 13-year-old mind was like, is my mama watching?
Yes. All right. So now we're going to move on to our next reading. And Michael, if you don't mind reading about Wednesday, August the 1st, it should also be on 372 or 373, Sex Shooter Safety Copy Created.
Yes. Okay. Sex Shooter Safety Copy Created, Sunset Sound, Studio 3, 11 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Producer, none listed. Artist, Apollonia 6. Engineer, Coke Johnson. Was that his real name, Coke? That's a cool name, Coke Johnson.
I think so, but I don't know.
I don't know if that was like his street name. Oh man, that's Coke Johnson. You know what he get down. Anyway, assistant engineer Mike Colster. I'm saying it right. A safety copy, a backup copy of a tape, was made of Sex Shooter, possibly for editing for the 12-inch. which would likely take place in Minneapolis. Prince was not involved in the session and no actual recording was done. The copy would be shipped to Prince. Shall I continue? Yes? All right.
No.
Okay.
That's it. I was
Water
looking up
Woman.
Coke. I was looking up Coke Johnson. So according to Discogs, that is his real name. It says Coke Allen Johnson. So
Coke
that
Allen.
yeah.
I've never heard another person named Coke before. That's what's funny.
Actually, there's Coke Escovedo,
Well, I know
which
that's-
is Sheila's uncle, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yep. All right. And so there's a couple comments from Chris. I want to make sure that I don't miss. So Chris says, when Apollonia made guest appearances on the tour, why didn't he have her duet on Take Me With You, especially for the Syracuse performance that was released as a video?
The vocals?
Yeah.
I will only, and I know I'm probably in the minority about this. I loved his performances of Take Me With You because they were so rock flavored. And like the first time I saw him breaking the controversy in the middle, I almost lost my damn mind. And so I would say that he probably didn't because it was one of the times where he got to really rock out. And I don't think that her, it's not the same way as the record, right? It's a much harder driving rock version. And I think having Apollonia on it in the live version, he couldn't have done it in that kind of rockified way. And so I think that the decision of how he decided to play the song may have meant why he didn't let Apollonia. Again, this is all just conjecture. I have no idea if what I'm saying is correct. I just know I really, really love that performance and how he performed it every night on the tour. That's it.
The other thing I want to point out that Chris is on fire today is I'd love a complete Purple Rain tour Blu-ray release with Sheila's set included. I am so with you 1,000,000%. That would be absolutely incredible. And let's see. Welcome, Lee Christian. It's always great to have you here. And we'll be kind, so we'll leave some of the other messages off. All right. So, Celie, do you want to take the next reading, which is
Wednesday, August 1st?
Yep, you got it.
All right. Wednesday, August 1st, 1984. Wait a minute. We love you, brother Tudahl. We love you, brother, but I'm old. We old, so I'm trying to. All right. Basic track and Prince vocals, Flying Cloud Drive Warehouse, Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Producer Prince, artist Apollonia 6, engineer Susan Rogers. Quote by Susan Rogers, when he came home, we did Happy Birthday, Mr. Christian. I remember he wrote the lyrics very quickly and he played all the instruments. Although Prince had been long rehearsing and focusing on his new project lately, he also needed to put the finishing touches on the Apollonia 6 album, which by many accounts had become an obligation instead of an inspiration. He had already decided not to have Apollonia 6 perform on the Purple Rain tour and had removed many of their best songs, the most painful example being Manic Monday, which was eventually given to the Bangles and released in 1986.
Okay, stop there for a second. So I wanted to ask you guys, do you agree with Duane about, I haven't never read where he got this from, like from many accounts that Apollonia 6 had become an obligation instead of an inspiration. Had you guys come across any of that?
No.
I mean, they've never said it. To me, reading between the lines when you look at, I actually did this, not to promote myself again, but in your at Erotic City, I kind of like, one of the sequences of my presentation was bringing up the track list, and it's like, here's what it looked like in February or whenever, and then half of the songs are go to Sheila, and then this song is being pulled out to eventually give to the Bangles. This song he's taking for his own album. He was picking away at it. So to me, reading between the lines, I feel like he was not, and I don't know, but the question is why though, right? Because we don't really know why. Because musically, I mean, I'm the Apollonia 6 guy. Musically, it's great, but I think that maybe didn't Apollonia kind of say that that I'm trying to remember. I don't have a source, but I feel like somebody said at some point that Prince kind of knew Apollonia wasn't going to stick around, and so he started deprioritizing the album, because it's like, well, if you're going to go do your own thing and be on Falcon Crest or whatever, then I might as well take this song back, you know? So that seems the likeliest thing to me, because the album is strong.
Yeah, I agree. I think I do remember reading something like that, now that you mention it, that she really wanted to prioritize her acting career. And so, you know, obviously Prince wants, you know, the attention to be, you know, in around the music and all of that. So that makes a lot of sense, actually. But like you said, that I still think the album is very, very strong. So one of the things that we're going to talk about actually next weekend for the Come Symposium, I think people dismiss Come a lot because it was supposedly an obligation to fulfill his Warner Brothers contract, and then they just disregard how genius the album actually is. I actually feel the same way about Apollonia 6, like especially musically, but to be honest, also vocally, because Brenda, I mean, again, I call it Brenda 6 because Brenda is all over Apollonia 6 record, and Brenda is very, 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 very strong vocally. So, but musically, it is like amazing. So, yeah.
And all right. What's the other most noted obligation album? That's a great ass album. Everybody knows it's an obligation album, and it went down as probably one of the greatest. I have it down as the second greatest concept album of all time.
Which album? I'm sorry.
That's what I was asking y'all. I was asking y'all which album. If you could tell me which one.
You're talking about Here, My Dear?
Yep. It was a legally obligated album.
Right. Like that's obligation beyond. It's not just the record company.
Yeah, this was in law, in writing.
It's a divorce settlement.
That's right. Is you don't want to pay no child support? No, not child support. Palimony.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
All the sales from this record got to go to your wife. And Marvin walked in there and was gonna do a crappy album and got to thinking about her ass. Like, oh, you want an album? You want a divorce album? So to your point, Prof. Duff, just cause something might be an obligation, hell, every one of us got a job we got an obligation to. That don't mean we go to work and do a crappy job. So I'm with you. I do think, and I'm like that about Chaos and Disorder, right? I don't think Chaos and Disorder is a crappy album. In fact, I think, and I've already said this, Chaos and Disorder is the rock album for folks like me, so we wouldn't lose our mind that there's no rock on Emancipation. But that's another discussion for another time. I'll get back to reading y'all ready for me to start.
All right, so we're going to skip down to Bennett's husband, Roy.
Let me see.
It's a couple of paragraphs.
Okay, there we go. All right. Bennett's husband, Roy, feels in the story, quote, Brenda wasn't one for biting her tongue. She'd speak her mind, and she wasn't afraid to tell Prince what she thought of him. And the same thing with Susan Moonsey. She would do it in a sweeter way. But I think the one thing that always attracted Prince to Susan was that not only was she a beautiful girl, she had a cute personality and she spoke her mind. In some cases, he doesn't like that. But with her, it was okay. She could do it in a really sweet way, end quote. It is interesting to note that Manic Monday was a harpsichord-based song, and it probably wasn't a coincidence that Happy Birthday, Mr. Christian, which replaced Manic Monday, continued harpsichord as well. In fact, it is the only number on the album that used the Yamaha DX7, a favorite keyboard of my cousin who played local bands here in Jackson, but I digress. Past the 19 harpsichord one. Status. When Happy Birthday, Mr. Christian, 7 minutes and 9 seconds, replaced Manic Monday on the Apollonia 6 album, it became the lead track, probably because it was the newest song. And Prince usually enjoyed placing his newest music in prominent places. Revolution is credited with recording the music, but it is likely a solo track by Prince.
All right. So before, and if you don't mind muting yourself, just so we don't get the feedback. So this is, I can't remember if I've showed this before on what did Prince do this week, but it's essentially Prince handwriting. You see Apollonia 6. Number 1 is Take Me With You, scratched out. Number 2 is Next Time, Wipe the Lipstick Off Your Collar, which went to Sheila. Third was A Million Miles. Brenda, check. I love the check. And then he has 4, In a Spanish Villa. 5, Some Kind of Lover. Brenda, check. 6, Sex Shooter. 7, Velvet Kitty Cat. And then underneath there,
he has... hear that.
Yes, we need to hear that. Sex Shooter, Take Me With You, Manic Monday, which was the 3rd song, supposedly. And then we got A Million Miles, Some Kind of Lover, In a Spanish Villa. That's all scratched out. And then he goes, A Million Miles, I Love You, Velvet Kitty Cat, Some Kind of Lover, In a Spanish Villa. And we know Velvet Kitty Cat would be replaced by one of my favorite songs, Ooh Wee Chihuahua. So I'm not that partial to Velvet Kitty Cat. So I love Ooh She Chihuahua. So I'm glad that happened. And as we know, there was even a test pressing of the Apollonia 6 record with Manic Monday as the 3rd song on the record. But eventually Manic, in addition to, no, that's right. And so Happy Birthday, Mr. Christian essentially replaces Manic Monday. How do you guys feel about that Manic Monday was given to the Bangles? Do you think it should have remained with Apollonia 6?
Well, I think it's a great song. He obviously has a lot of great songs that were initially, for them. I guess if I was the person who wrote the songs and I wanted them to go as big as they could, I could see the sense of, let me give it to these people over here type of thing. But I would just say all to say is to say that, wow, this album, and I'm not a big fan of the Apollonia 6 album, just keeping it a buck. But wow, the lineup that you just showed there, and like if they would have got the performances on deck, I mean, that album would have been bananas. Like it's some of the greatest songs, some great Prince songs that were there. Even Take Me With You, that would blow my mind if that was on that record. And that would be they would probably be doing shows today. Just how somebody said The Time is still playing. And if they could have had a band that was backing them and they was up to performing, I could still see people like, yeah, I want to hear Take Me With You and Sex Shooter and all that. I could still see Apollonia getting up there doing their thing. That would be dope. But to answer the question, I'm not mad that he gave it to those other artists. I mean, those songs are iconic. So
I have a conspiracy theory. I think this is probably going to be unpopular, but as we know, a couple of years ago, Apollonia was saying that she played a role in writing Manic Monday and The Glamorous Life. I think that she also said that she introduced Prince to the Bangles. I think so let's just, I know everybody's first reaction was to say that she's lying, but let's take this premise on its face. I think that she thought at the time that she was going to get a cut of the publishing for Manic Monday because I do think she probably did contribute a couple lines. And so I think she even knew that giving it to the Bangles would result in a bigger hit. She, of course, did not get a cut of that publishing. But that's my personal pet, my headcanon. That she was kind of doing some business maneuvering there that did not end up paying off. But it did pay off for Prince and of course the Bangles. So
yeah, I love Chris Bournet's comment because I think it's important. If you haven't watched the Apollonia 6 interview that Apollonia did on her podcast, because they actually talk about it, and Brenda did say that she didn't think that Apollonia 6 would have made Manic Monday a hit. And this is, 40 years later almost, right? Well, 38 or 39 years later. So I think they understood in the grand scheme of things. All right. So Zach, if you don't mind reading our last reading of the day, which is Friday, August 3rd, 1984, estimate, Happy Birthday, Mr. Christian, Apollonia's vocals.
Sure. So same producer, same artist, same engineer. I remember Apollonia speaking about all the little things that Prince was trying to get out of her vocal wise, with inflections, intonations, and little things like not just singing, but all the other little things like the oohs and ahs and the little ad libs. And I remember her talking about how she felt embarrassed by it at first and how she felt kind of funny about it and how it was difficult for her to get that part because she couldn't do it. And he was good about it because he had his little ways to get her to be herself, whether it was to tickle her or make her laugh or one of those kind of things. And that's Brenda Bennett. Prince invited Apollonia up to Minneapolis for the weekend of her birthday. Prince, dressed in his pajamas and boots, picked her up, drove her to the warehouse, and played her a version of the track that contained his scratch vocals, which we also need to hear, just by the way. Although Apollonia wasn't present when the music was recorded, her stamp was all over the song because the lyrics were based on a description of two people who had worked at her school when she was younger. Prince took the innocent information and embellished it for a song. Once again, Prince had found inspiration from someone else close to him, giving him the spark necessary to create the number, and he asked for her help fine-tuning the lyrics. Brenda Bennett helped on the background vocals and added part of the Marilyn Monroe-esque Happy Birthday, Mr. Christian at 5:54 in the song. Prince also had Apollonia say it in the same breathy tone. He had this big infatuation with Marilyn Monroe, Bennett relates, and he was really in the thick of it at that time. And he originally wanted me to do my hair just like her, the same color. He wanted me to dye it platinum and wear it kind of like that. Anyway, that's me doing my best Marilyn Monroe at the end. Susanna Melvoin was eventually called in to sing as well. It was me and Brenda and Prince, but it was mostly me and Brenda. She was a good singer. She was really one of the great women, and she was married to another great man, Roy, and they were all part of that whole thing. Purple Rain isn't Purple Rain without Roy and Brenda. Jill Jones would eventually also add her vocals on a later date at Sunset Sound. A close listen to the phrasing of the lyrics reveals that this birthday gift could have easily have been called Happy Birthday Apollonia instead of Happy Birthday Mr. Christian. Although she would remain in Minneapolis for some of the tour rehearsals and preparing for the upcoming Apollonia 6 shows, this was probably among the last official vocal sessions Apollonia recorded for Prince. With the movie release and the Apollonia 6 album complete, the focus shifted to the upcoming live performances. Wow, there's a lot to unpack here. I think, again, I'm shooting from the hip here, so I don't know if this is true or not. But I feel like I remember that there's a sketch that was actually in my presentation from Erotic City that Prince did called A Day with Apollonia. And it's Apollonia behind the microphone saying sorry. And it's Prince, a little character of Prince at a piano cursing. It's got the cartoon, exclamation point and hash mark and all that stuff. And I think that was drawn during the sessions for Happy Birthday, Mr. Christian. So that's what Brenda's quote made me think about. That Prince was getting, he was both being cute and tickling her and also getting a little frustrated at that session.
Wow. Wow.
I think it's really important to note that the song came from a situation with Apollonia from her own life in the same way that Starfish and Coffee, as someone posted in the chat, with Susanna, because otherwise you would think how in the world did Prince come up with this scenario? Why would he want to write about this? But it makes a lot of sense, if it's Apollonia, relaying the story to him. So I think it's important that we know as a collective that this is where the song came from. Just FYI.
That's super interesting. Also, the bit about the Marilyn Monroe hair was super. I wonder what the timeline of that was, because Brenda was in the mix from 81, I think. And I almost wonder if he wanted her to have the Marilyn Monroe hair when he was thinking about the hookers, right? Like 81-ish. And then she said no. So then he went to Jill and was like, you're going to have the Marilyn Monroe hair. Cause that's what he ended up doing with Jill. And we've seen often with Jill, we see him okay, well, you're going to be named Electra. And she says no. And so then 10 years later, Carmen Electra happens. So he had ideas that if one person, it wasn't a fit, it would go to another person. And Sybil, I do want. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say one more thing, because like I said, there's a lot in this passage to unpack. the teacher piece. So I had an epiphany. It was on stage actually after at Triple Threat in the Q&A at Triple Threat. And I had an epiphany that like so much of Prince's, my presentation, for those of you who weren't there, my presentation was about Vanity 6 and pornography. And when I was on stage, I had an epiphany that so much of Prince's, especially early output, you know, when he was the rude boy, right? So much of his more outre lyrics make more sense when you view them in a porn context. Because what do you, and I'm putting myself in the same position as when I was on stage. It's very awkward to say this, but so, you know, let's say you accidentally log on to Pornhub. What do you see? What scenarios do you see? Teacher and student, step siblings, you know, like, and so that's sister, that's teacher, that's Apollonia, that's Happy Birthday, Mr. Christian. You know, these are porn tropes that he's turning into songs. So I think that's really, yes. And it's also coming from, it's super funny that it's coming from that Apollonia told him what was probably a much more innocent story. And he was like, well, how about this? Let me just run this through the porn filter.
And again,
can I see your browser history for a second?
I'm not as much of a pervert as I seem, I promise.
But I like what you were talking about, like, you know, this person won't do it, so you're going to do it. This person won't wear their hair, then you're going to wear their hair. And you think about, Jill had the song Wednesday. And then you think about the song, oh God, what's the lyric? Come Electric Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay, Come Electric Tuesday. So it's Come Tuesday. Come Electric Tuesday. Come Carmen Electra. So you get from Come Electric Tuesday to Carmen Electra.
Yeah.
A thing called Jill, but to me, Come Electric Tuesday was always about Jill.
Well,
so,
actually,
go ahead.
Actually, during the Triple Threat keynote with Jill said, if I remember correctly, that Prince wanted to name her Electra.
Right. And she didn't want to be, and so Carmen becomes Carmen Electra, and then you take the lyric Carmen Electra Tuesday, Carmen Electra. So you got Prince always playing with these connections. Coming back to Zach's point about, you know, we understand that we're looking through, to some degree, we're looking through the male gaze with all the Prince's work. And so you have to always be mindful with Prince. There are always 2 or 3 things happening, especially with women, right? Prince writes 2 or 3 different types of songs with women. There's the sisterhood song, there's the mother song, there's the succubus who controls him, like the succubus being the witch, the devil, also the domineering woman, and then there's the woman that he kind of dominates, right? And so Prince is always kind of this whole kind of really 3 or 4 dimensional imaging that we get with women that we're gazing through, and he's giving women this agency, right? Women have always gotten agency, but it comes with him navigating his own stuff while giving women this agency, right? Little Red Corvette is as much about male schizophrenia, right? Little Red Corvette is about men don't know if we want to save women or sex them. Because 75% of Little Red Corvette is the dude saying, hey, baby girl, you out there too fast. You need to slow down. You're going to run your body down. But the last 25% is, oh, yeah, by the way, slow down so I can drive you. So does the dude want to save her? Right. Or does he want to sex her? But that is Prince running through. And I think I'm saying that to say that's not a negative, right? I don't want people saying that that's a negative. I'm saying that Prince is giving us dimensionality and how we're looking at women and how he's dealing with women that I don't think a lot of male writers were giving us. I'll shut up.
And I think that's super interesting too, because what we get is, you know, you're right that Prince, the whole concept, the whole idea of like Prince as feminist is an interesting one, you know, because I think he did see women in more dimensions than definitely a lot of male rock and pop artists of his era, especially, you know, straight men. But you know, he still had his blinders. It was like they could either be this or that. But just even the fact that he had more boxes for women to be in ends up with a more three-dimensional, you know, like his women could be sexual and could be powerful and could be all of these other things. And even if they weren't necessarily all of those things at the same time, you look at it and it can become a three-dimensional when you're superimposing them over each other. You know, it ultimately results in a very progressive view of what women could be. You know, it's like these two things are true at the same time. Apollonia 6 they're like the most basic, you know, male gaze porn tropes. And at the same time, they're like these badass women that are really cool, you know? So I do think that that's a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah. And when you go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, when you add, say, like a song like She Gave Her Angels, which I think is just a beautiful song that doesn't get enough credit. There's the salvation trope, right? Prince is always being saved by women, and it's always women coming in to save him from himself. So again, that's that very nuanced kind of relationship. That what's great is it allowed women, and I know Prof. Duff and the women in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong here. Prince is so nuanced that he allowed women to choose which women that they wanted to be in his particular universe.
Yeah.
Right. So that when you go, so if you are a female going to a Prince, you can be the succubus. You can be the Dominics. You can be all these things, which means that you can be a human being. Right. What sexism ultimately is a man only being able to see a woman for one thing. Right. And Prince is clearly not that. Prince is, if nothing else, he is destroying the concept of sexism because he's saying that women have been all these things to me. Now, I may be dealing with my own messed up ish, and it may take me 20 years to be, because here's the great thing about Prince. It may take you 20 years to be man enough for the woman you say you want, right? You may have to get to, he may have to become Diamond and Pearl's Prince to be the woman, to be man enough for the woman he says he wants in Purple Rain, right? And so as males, we are then tracking that same progression, right? And saying that, oh, all of these different types of women exist. And so we don't have the excuse to say a woman is just a B, just an H, because Prince has presented all these types of women. So he's taking that crush from you that women can only be this. I'll shut up.
And the next step in like understanding is that all of these types of women can be one woman, and you know, and that's what I don't think Prince is there yet, but I think he does. I like to think he got there eventually.
And that's important because if it jarhead men, that's why they don't promote women in positions, or they don't hire women for things,
right?
Because if a woman is multidimensional, they can only see her sexual side. They can't see her analytical side. They can't see her business side. So I think it's important that you say that one woman can be all of these things. And I'll say this, and I may be like Jackson, I may be sharing too much, but this is something that actually happened to me. I was in my late 20s, and there was a sister who was up for a job. And two dudes who knew her in college were essentially saying she couldn't get that job because you know how she was in college. You know, she liked to be with such and such and do these things in college. And the first thing I said was, yeah, when both of y'all in the same room with her. And my question was, how could those two dudes who were in the same room with this woman see themselves as being able to get this job, but she couldn't get the job? That's the very thing I think, Zach, that you are pointing to, that men and our hypocrisy, that our male hypocrisy, which is really our male insecurity. Let's be clear. Men are hypocrites about women's sexuality because we are insecure about being able to satisfy women. The only man that's really a hypocrite toward women is a man who's worried he can't satisfy them. And so those two dudes did not want to see a strong sexual woman get a professional job because they were insecure that they couldn't dominate that kind of woman. I'll say.
Yeah, I mean that's Little Red Corvette, right? That's the whole
exactly
the whole subtext. Yeah.
Just a couple things, going back to what you said, if you look through it through a porn sort of lens, and I saw some video today on YouTube or something. A person was pointing this out, but the way the movie ends, Purple Rain ends, I mean, he's like literally ejaculating on the crowd, right? Like that's some wild way that he's ta-da, so that's crazy. When I saw the movie, I didn't know what the hell was going on, but as I got older, I realized, wow, okay, I didn't think about that.
It's the money shot, right?
Literally.
That's exactly it's the money shot.
Right at the money shot, it's over. Like, okay, you're done.
The metaphor of all metaphors. I have climaxed. This show has climaxed. This movie, this film has climaxed. And that's Prince, right? That's Prince always playing with that. And I think for Prince, he thought that people were going to be mature enough to get it. I think the problem for Prince is that he did not know there was that many people that were immature sexually. Yeah, that's the problem. The reason sexism exists because most dudes are immature sexually. Most dudes can't handle a sexually mature woman, and so it's the men who can't handle it, and he's left like, damn, that's y'all can't get past that. And so he becomes the victim of. Prince gave a lot of people more credit than he should have given them. And because of that, he becomes, as he says, I know for a lot of people, I'm going to always be the dude with his butt out on MTV because those people couldn't grow up, right? And as Bless says, understand the spiritual sexual union that Prince was always trying to work us to. I'll say that.
All right.
Also, I just wanted to ask you guys a question. I'd love to hear. So you talked about how Prince, saw women as these different roles, but at this time, do you feel like he was doing that? Because I think I think of the women that are in his band. Gail, the first one, he like French kisses her on stage, right? Like it's a very sexual sort of performance thing. Wendy's on her knees. I don't know if that's the kid just doing that in the movie or if that Prince playing something too, like. And then and then of course all the members of Apollonia 6, a very sexual image. Sheila E, very sexual sort of image. But where does it? And then you brought when you say like sort of the mothery type of roles, and I'm checking myself. Are we talking about like Rosie? These women that he doesn't show any sort of sexual attraction to them and doesn't touch them.
Yes.
Okay, and then
but also, if you look at Purple Rain, even though they're sexualized, they still have different roles. Who is Jill? Jill is the cheerleader, and Jill herself said that was her problem. She became the cheerleader. She let Prince put her in the cheerleader role. Like that is the one thing. Jill always kicks herself. Like, damn it, I let him put just like the dude who put the girl. Look. What's the problem with, if you look at she's always in my hair, Jill realized this. The problem is when she's always in my hair, Jill realized, because I'm always there for your ass. You know I'm always be there for your ass. You know I love you in that way. And so Jill was being confined. Even though they were friends with benefits, she was the cheerleader. She was the friend. Wendy and Lisa were the co-workers. Wendy and Lisa were the one who could tell the kid off. They could go toe-to-toe with him. Why? Because Prince knew those sisters in the hood. He knew those women who could go toe-to-toe. And then who was Apollonia? Apollonia was a romantic interest. So even in that movie, you got three different, I'm combining Wendy and Lisa. So you got three different women playing three different roles, and people are not picking up on this three-dimensional scope. And then, right, what we find out later, there's some things cut from the movie because Prince's relationship with his mom, there's a scene that's cut from the movie that they thought would have had too much of an Oedipus effect.
There's a wild scene.
Read
the script.
We're gonna take that scene. So clearly, the relationship that the kid had with his mother, which would, and again, if Pops is beating up on Mom, the kid is gonna always, side for Mom. So that's not, but the whole kind of edible thing. So so I would say, Brother Dean, that yes, even in Purple Rain, Prince is giving us 3, maybe 4 different ways to understand women, and even when he himself is not able to be man enough. But that's what Purple Rain is about, and that's what frustrates me. Is about Purple Rain is about how do we overcome as men our toxicity. There are 3 toxic men in this movie: the kid, the father, and Morris. And by the end of the movie, we at least see the kid and Morris moving from that, and we hope, we don't know, we hope that the father is moving forward. Unfortunately, in Graffiti Bridge, we realize he dies, right? So,
survived a gunshot wound to the head. Still died.
Because when I first saw Purple Rain, and then when he was in the movie, I was like, "What? He missed that big ass head? How he missed?" Anyway, that's a whole other. That's what I was like, I was like, how he still alive? How he missed that big ass head? But anyway, but Purple Rain, there is a narrative arc in which the kid works his way through his relationship with 3 different types of women: business associates and artistic associates with Wendy and Lisa, romantic relationships with Apollonia, and platonic friendship relationships with Jill. It's all there. And if you destroy that in a play that you're going to make, you're destroying the narrative arc that men can overcome their toxicity, and then you're losing what I figure is the essence of this film. I'll shut up.
And one last, let me throw in, I'm sorry, this last thing I'm saying. Do you think that, and we're speculating, do you think that Prince in his real life was like that to those women around him, or were they all with benefits?
No, because remember, Patti LaBelle and Mavis Staples.
Well, I'm talking about at this time that he's at.
Okay. So going back, no, I think that from what we know, well, y'all correct me. From what we know, there was no physical relationship with Apollonia. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I think that's right.
She actually says that on Apollonia 6 podcast when Apollonia 6 were there. So she says that, she emphatically says,
no. Real respectful. Well, I don't say
right.
Most grown women probably not going to admit it, as they probably should.
Right. So what I would argue is that.
But I want to stop because, like, I don't know. Actually, all of my best friends have always been male, and I've never had sexual relationships with my male friends. So I don't understand why a lot of people say that you can't have platonic relationships with guys, because it's true. So sometimes when
look at it through the mind of a man, though.
Yeah, but
he
I understand. Yeah, but he thinks that way. I understand. But the thing is, like, it can happen. Just and so she could be telling the truth. It's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I would say that also I think that we have to look at it that there was no, from what we know, there was no sexual relationship with Gail Chapman. From what we know, Prince never pursued Lisa when she got into the band. From what we know,
Peggy, Susan,
right?
Exactly. And there are these other, like not performing with him, but he was around women that he didn't go after.
Exactly. And so my response, I think that when the kid has Wendy do that thing, to mimic that, I think that's part of the kid creating a persona. Right. I think that that's him. Right. I think that's the performative aspect of the kid being shocking. I don't think that that's the kid to now. It's an extension, Brother Dean. I think that in part of the performative, if you want to say he's doing a performative and making some allusion toward Apollonia, but not toward Wendy. So if you want to say that it's a metaphoric act, it's not a metaphoric act aimed at Wendy. It's Wendy being an artist in the performance, and he's aiming it toward Apollonia, which means then there's still no sexual relationship between him and his professional bandmate. That's an act designed toward Apollonia, if that makes sense. So I think that in that case, we have enough evidence to say that even at that point in his life, both the kid and Prince was able to have platonic female relationships, which shows him dealing with women on various levels, which also meant he still needed to grow even in his platonic relationship. He needed to grow on how to be a friend. Right? He needed to grow on, because remember now, he's not just mistreating Wendy and Lisa in the band. He's mistreating everybody in the band. Like they saw what is Grandma doing when the kids show up late? Hey, man.
Yeah.
Like you wasting our time too. So the kid is having to become a better human being to everybody, which includes the relationship with the women. That's it.
All right. So I actually don't want this conversation to stop, but I actually have to leave very, very soon. It's not because of what we're talking about, even though some of you might think that, but I actually have to leave. And there's a lot I want to cover before I go. So I'm going to go through this super quick. And I apologize, but it's important. Okay. Week 31 so far in 1984, Prince has written 40 songs and has had 78 studio visits. We won't go through that. Music break. Andre 3000 is going to be performing at the Jazz Cafe in London. This is a big deal. I wish I could go and see this show. So if you're in the London area, definitely go check out Andre 3000. It's an amazing show. And then tonight in Atlanta, there's the Funk Jazz Cafe celebrating 30 years at the Ray Charles Arts Performing Center. And I want to share this Instagram post that Jason shared just to see like the impact. So he has several photos here, one from 99, one from 95, one from 98, one from 99, 99, 2001, 2001, 2002, 2013. And I just want you to just look at the vibe and the crowd of Funk Jazz Cafe and just the vibe. Like this was an amazing period of time. Like people just like hanging on the sides, you know, look like 3 floors.
Wow.
Of, I mean, like amazing. And it was like, sometimes he had it outdoors. He had like sculptures, like we were packed like sardines. This was a time. This is so amazing. So if you're in the Atlanta area, please come out and celebrate 30 years of Funk Jazz Cafe. If you go to funkjazzcafe.com, it'll take you directly to the Eventbrite link so you can buy your tickets. There's still some tickets left. So I hope that you'll support. Jason was celebrating 30 years. It's such a big deal. And then I think we're back to the other, yeah. And then again, he's going to have 2 different screenings, one for Stepping Into Tomorrow, which some of us got to see a preview of, and it's still in preview mode at the Erotic City Symposium. So if you missed it and you want to see it and you're in the Atlanta area, you can. And then there's the Funk Jazz Cafe Diary of a Decade. Purple World. Really quickly, C. Lee and myself, as well as Matt Thorne and my triplet, Camila Cummings, were on Word Radio out of Philly with Tanya Pilkington, and we talked about Purple Rain, 40 years. It was an amazing conversation. It's on Facebook. And if you go to the slide deck, which is at the bottom of the book club website, you can go directly to it. But if you go to Facebook and do your Googles, you can probably find it, but you can definitely find the link. It was a really great conversation. Don't you think, C. Lee? Didn't we have a great conversation?
It was wonderful, and I was just blessed to be there with you great minds.
Yes, it was great. Then I was so excited to listen to Elliot H. Powell, my dear friend, part of the Core 4, who will be joining us for the Come Symposium next weekend. He was on NPR talking about Purple Rain and the Prince course that he teaches at the University of Minnesota. So if you haven't checked this out, it's only a 6-minute listen. He makes some really fantastic points. One of the points that he makes that I realized that we don't talk enough about is just how Purple Rain really centers Minneapolis without ever naming it. But it's like, it's such a Minneapolis film. So definitely listen to that. And then it was just announced that Morris Day and the Time and the New Power Generation are going to be at Paisley Park on August 17th. So there's a lot to do if you are going to be in Minneapolis. So make sure you catch that. And then I'm really super, super excited. I cannot believe we're just a week away from the Come 30 virtual symposium, 2 days, all day. And that's the bit.ly link where you can find out more, bit.ly/Prince Come 30. We have the company playlist. I'm going to add a lot more like Zach's presentations. I call him TTD, Terrence. I can't pronounce his name, so that's what I call him, TTD. I'll put that on there. Questlove Supreme and some other things that we talked about today. but you can listen to all the Sex Shooter versions, including the Vanity 6 version, which is still near and dear to my heart because it has a different musical vibe to it, even though it's the same, but it's not. It's really interesting take. And then I also found a Yamaha DX7 voice bank play. So if you want to hear the harpsichord that said happy birthday in its purest form, you can listen to the bank play at 420. That's the number. I'm not making that up. And then next week, we're going to read pages 375 to 382 at the COM Symposium. So if you're on YouTube, we're not going to be here. We're going to be on Zoom events. That's where the COM Virtual Symposium will be. And that's where What Did Prince Do this week will be. And if you can't catch us, we'll post it on YouTube, but we're not going live on YouTube, just FYI. So if you come here, we're not going to be here. All right. So next week, again, during the COM 30 Virtual Symposium, we're going to be talking about the family's River Runs Dry. We're going to talk about the Computer Blue workout rehearsal, or I call it the hallway version, and then Purple Rain edit, and then Understood basic tracking Prince vocals. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week during the COM Virtual Symposium. It will be the same bat time and not same bat channel, but same bat time. So it's going to be again on Zoom events. And yes, I'm so happy that Laura also loves the Vanity 6 version of Sex Shooter. And yes, we love Elliot. I hope that you had an opportunity to listen to that. And I think that's all she wrote. So Michael Dean, take us out.
Well, of course, thanks to our guests, Zach and Celie, coming in and blessing us with some good conversation and points. Thank you to D'Angela for making this possible. Thank you to everyone in the chat for being lively and giving us some good comments and feedback as well. And with that said, work it like a job. We'll see you next time. Peace.
And we're going to say thank you to Michael Dean.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.